On the morning of July 6, 2013, Asiana Airlines Flight 214 was a passenger flight from Seoul, South Korea. The Boeing 777 operating the flight crashed on final approach into San Francisco International Airport in the United States. Of the 307 people on board, 3 died. Another 187 were injured, 49 of them seriously. Among the seriously injured were 4 flight attendants who were thrown onto the runway while still strapped in their seats when the tail section broke off after striking the seawall short of the runway. It was the first fatal crash of a Boeing 777 since the aircraft type entered service in 1995. The investigation by the NTSB concluded that the accident was caused by the flight crew's mismanagement of the airplane's final approach. Deficiencies in Boeing's documentation of complex flight control systems and in Asiana Airlines pilot training were also cited as factors. This is the footage from a security camera at the San Francisco International Airport. On July 19, 1989, United Airlines Flight 232 was a regularly scheduled United Airlines flight from Denver to Philadelphia International Airport, with a stopover in Chicago. The DC-10 serving the flight crash landed at Sioux Gateway Airport in Sioux City, Iowa, after suffering a catastrophic failure of its tail-mounted engine due to an unnoticed manufacturing defect in the engine's fan disc, which resulted in the loss of all flight controls. Of the 296 passengers and crew on board, 112 died during the accident, while 184 people survived. 13 of the passengers were uninjured. It was the deadliest single aircraft accident in the history of United Airlines. Despite the fatalities, the accident is considered a good example of successful crew resource management. A majority of those aboard survived. Experienced test pilots in simulators were unable to reproduce a survivable landing. It has been termed the impossible landing as it is considered one of the most impressive landings ever performed in the history of aviation. This footage was captured by local news station KTIV.
Roger, sir. That's a closed runway. That'll work, sir. We're getting the equipment off the runway and they'll line up for that one.
How long is it?
6,600 feet, 6,600, and the equipment's coming off.
Isolate this.
On November 23, 1996, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 961 was a scheduled international flight serving the route Addis Ababa to Abidjan, with stopovers in Nairobi, Brazzaville, and Lagos. The aircraft serving the flight, a Boeing 767, was hijacked en route from Addis Ababa to Nairobi by 3 Ethiopians seeking asylum in Australia. The plane crash landed in the Indian Ocean near Grande Comore, Comoros Islands, due to fuel exhaustion. 125 of the 175 passengers and crew on board, including the 3 hijackers, died. This is the first recorded instance of a partially successful ditching utilizing a wide-body aircraft. This footage was captured by a couple while on vacation at the Comoros Islands. On June 26, 1988, Air France Flight 296Q was a chartered flight of a new Airbus A320 operated by Air Charter International for Air France. The plane crashed while making a low pass over Mulhouse-Habsheim Airfield as part of the Habsheim Air Show. This particular flight was the A320's first passenger flight, and most of those on board were journalists and raffle competition winners, having won tickets as part of a promotional event by local businesses. Many, including several unaccompanied children, had never previously been on an airplane. The low-speed flyover, with landing gear down, was supposed to take place at an altitude of 100 feet. Instead, the plane performed the flyover at 30 feet, skimmed the treetops of the forest at the end of the runway, which had not been shown on the airport map given to the pilots, and crashed. All 136 passengers survived the initial impact, but 3 then died of smoke inhalation from the subsequent fire. Official reports concluded that the pilots flew too low, too slow, failed to see the forest, and accidentally flew into it. The captain, Michael Asseline, disputed the report and claimed an error in the fly-by-wire computer prevented him from applying thrust and pulling up. 5 individuals, including the captain and first officer, were later found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. Captain Asseline, who maintained his innocence, went on to serve 10 months in prison and a further 10 months probation. A quadriplegic boy in seat 4F, a 7-year-old little girl in seat 8C, trapped by her seat being pushed forward and struggling to open the seatbelt, and an adult who, according to her partner, had reached the exit with him, but then turned back to try to help the 7-year-old. The child had been traveling with her older brother but seated apart. He was swept out by a flow of escapees as he tried to find his sister. Most of the crash, which occurred in front of several thousand spectators, was caught on video.
Aircraft manufacturers have tried to fix that problem by designing the pilot out of the cockpit. This is the first fully automated plane, flown by a computer.
Oh là là. Oh non, oh non, oh non.
On April 29, 2013, National Airlines Flight 102 was a cargo flight operated by National Airlines between Camp Shorabak, formerly Camp Bastion, in Afghanistan, and Al Maktoum Airport in Dubai, with a refueling stop at Bagram Airfield, Afghanistan. The Boeing 747 operating the flight crashed moments after taking off from Bagram, killing all 7 people on board. Initially, the Taliban took responsibility. However, the subsequent investigation concluded that improperly secured cargo broke free during the takeoff and rolled to the back of the cargo hold, crashing through the rear pressure bulkhead and disabling the rear flight control systems. This rendered the aircraft stuck in an uncontrollable pitch-up attitude and induced a stall, and made recovery by the pilots impossible. The footage was captured by a vehicle on the ground.